Though in some respects we've started down the road, and I'll call it the hybrid road. And the question is, do we stay on that hybrid road, or do we consider full-fledged participation and membership in an ISO? Purposes are to provide reliability, to do economic dispatch, and all that says is to run the cheapest unit, get the lowest cost electricity, and then to do transmission planning. And we've always tried to do that, transmission planning with our neighbors to avoid duplication of service. Here is just being done on a larger footprint. The question comes up, yeah, but Basin, you join an ISO. What do we need Basin for anymore? We'll just buy the power from the ISO. And I'd argue, no, that's not true. Basin would sell all of its power to ISO. We would buy it all back at different locations. We would still be your power supplier. We are the ones that you have in place, be your all requirements contract for power supply. What the ISO does is a form of hedging and risk mitigation and market access to keep our costs low. Now, Ron said, consensus required. Yep, this isn't a Basin standalone decision. It's a decision on behalf of Basin, WAPA, and Heartland, and you could argue, appropriately so, the wider preference power community.
There's some other considerations, and Wayne mentioned this, the first one there, we shouldn't make a long-term decision based on a short-term situation, meeting WAPA's hydro conditions. And in my estimation, we should have a compelling case to join to mitigate the uncertainty and the risk. Otherwise, we should stick with the hybrid option. It buys us some time, assuming we can mitigate the risk associated with that. The hybrid option is not mutually exclusive with joining later. The hybrid option is actually moving some load and some generation into the footprints of the various RTOs. So if you ultimately join, it's just not, it's a step, just another step in that same direction. Also, we're quite different than some of our neighbors in terms of how we're situated. Our relationship with Western Area Power Administration, the fact that we're not embedded within the midst of the Midwest ISO, and maybe Chuck will elaborate a little more on this. But we've got options. MISO's not the only game in town. We have Southwest Power Pool. We've got access to the West. We're vastly different than the number of our neighbors that have joined. So in my estimation, the hybrid is the best value with the least risk at this point in time.
We have control of the IS transmission system. We, Basin, Western, and Heartland. There's some, you have to realize if we go to an ISO, we won't have our own tariff. We won't be analyzing generation interconnection requests. That's all done by the ISO. We won't grant transmission. We'll give up control of the transmission system. I do not know if that's has a value, but it's certainly something that takes a little bit of getting used to. Joint marketing program that we have today with Basin is going to change. If we join an ISO, it'll change a lot. If we do the hybrid option, it'll probably change a lot. We need to be cognizant of the fact that it's going to change. How we approach it will change, and understand that.